Anyway, I better get to the phones because if I don't, I won't. And we're going to start with Sylvia in Clinton Township, New Jersey. Sylvia, you've been holding for a long time, and I appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, Rush. But I think, the more important all-out assault is these provisions that have been put into this budget bill. Because just to make this clear, are you really telling your audience that you approve of the largest Wall Street banks being able to draw on federally insured, like savings accounts of individuals and trading with those on risky derivatives and commodities and all that kind of stuff and taking all the profits, and the government under the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation backstopping them or, insuring those?
No.
And also, even more egregious is that borrow that money.
I'm not telling my audience I support that because that's not what it does.
It is what it does.
It's not what it does.
Then tell us what it does, right? That money they also, by the way, for your audience, they borrow at 0% from the Federal Reserve. It takes some of the. I've got plenty of room to lose some accuracy points and still be more right than anybody else out there. I'm not worried about that. I don't. But it's unrisky derivatives here that have been targeted. Anyway, it's not the way you portrayed it as being. It is the way.
If you think Elizabeth Warren is right, then that kind of tells me that you might it's a little bit off the rails, not all the way, but a little bit. But I have read today some people who do agree with you, Sylvia. In conservative blogs, I have read that some think that Elizabeth Warren does have a point, like you do.
Well, it's true, Rush. It's appalling. Rush?
Yes, Sylvia.
And the second part of it, it is the most egregious abuse. It is the abuse by, billionaires on Wall Street. And then we get it from the millionaires who now, you call it a small adjustment to campaign finance. There used to be a limit of $32,000, and now that's been raised tenfold to $320,000 for an individual or $640,000 for a couple. Are we really turning into a plutocracy in this country where we have like Sheldon Adelson putting in hundreds of millions if he wants, and then just, your average millionaire putting in $640,000 a year? And for your, what do you call it, whatever, a plutocracy is, I don't want to insult anybody, but a government of like the richest among us. This is insane. These are the two issues that bother me the most in politics. It's just banks getting over on us and, the billionaires getting over on us, and then millionaires getting over on us. And you shouldn't just take this in stride. This is not a victory for the Republican Congress that their first, after this big victory, the budget they put forth, these are the two provisions that they support. It's so disappointing.
No, it's not the two. It's this and everything else in it that they support. You think I support this crazy thing?
Then Rush, speak out on it. Flesh it out. I am such an inadequate vessel to try to bring this,
No, you're not.
Listeners.
You're a great vessel, Sylvia.
Well, thank you. But I'm not. There are people there
yes, you
that
are.
Your listeners would support 100% conservative people like Paul Volcker, who was, Ronald Reagan's Federal Reserve.
Don't forget Frank Carlucci. People don't know, but Carlucci is in the middle of all of this. You know it as well as I do.
We need people to say this is really wrong, and to say, don't vote for this. This is wrong. Take out those provisions. We are not a government for billionaires and millionaires. We're not.
Now, Sylvia, let me play devil's advocate with you here for just a second.
Yeah.
You don't like the raise, the increase $32,000 to $320,000. What is your objective? Honestly, I'm not. No. Hang on a minute. I'm not trying to stir anything up, and I'm not trying to trick you. I genuinely want to know, what is your objection to people who have wealth spending it in politics?
Because, Rush, I genuinely believe that there is an element of quid pro quo. And not so much, maybe in the billionaires realm, and maybe I even agree with some of what Sheldon Adelson says, but of course there is a quid pro quo. You give the money because you want them to rule in things that are favorable to you or your interests.
Of
course. Some interests are bigger than others.
I would never run for office. I don't want to owe people.
Exactly, Rush. You don't have to. You have a far larger power base. The Koch brothers couldn't buy, your 3 hours.
There's nothing wrong with the Koch brothers. Don't tell me you're in this crap. Don't tell me that.
What's the Democratic
I know the Koch brothers. They are fine people.
I'm sure that's all fine, Rush. But I mean, I'm just complimenting you on the power base that you have assembled, et cetera. That you don't whatever.
Sylvia,
that's not the point.
I need to know: are you an Obama voter, or did you vote for Romney in 2012?
I voted for McCain and I voted for Obama because, frankly, I couldn't.
Well, Sylvia, the reason I asked it because the things that you are complaining about, Barack Obama has set records doing. If anybody's in bed with Wall Street, if anybody is engaged in crony capitalism or crony socialism, it's Barack Obama and Wall Street and American corporations. If you think that the Republicans have an exclusive on it, Obama has set new records in this kind of arrangement between private sector corporations and the government. And you voted for the guy.
The thing is that Republicans always say that, but it is the Republicans who have brought all the legal challenges and all the court cases to the Supreme Court and everywhere else to dismantle any kind of campaign finance regulation.
No, it is.
And you just want the Democrats to unilaterally disarm and
Republicans
not engage in.
So you're a problem here because you're obviously smart. You are articulate. You're well spoken, but you have been propagandized. You're dangerous because half of what you say is right. But this incessant look, and you know that I am not a de rigueur defender of the Republican Party. Certainly not recently, and that's not what I'm doing with you. But to lay all of this at the blame of the Republicans when the Republicans basically haven't tried to stop anything from happening in 6 years. For crying, I mean, the Democrats unions are spending $500 million per presidential cycle. The unions. And where are they getting the money? How much free media do they get? This place, the system is polluted enough without trying to say it's all one way. But I'm glad you called. I appreciate it. I kind of like feisty callers like this now and then. We have a